Hey guys, my name is Jen Dixon. I am a master's student at the University of Texas at El Paso, and today I'll be talking to you about my final project for the advanced mapping class of the spring 2017 semester. My project is, the objective was to find two different software programs that I could use to make a 3D model and also map on top of that 3D model. So this is a presentation I created in PREZI, and all the links that I'll be talking about I'll be putting down into the description. So if you guys have any questions, just let me know. Just write me a question, I'll answer it, or give me an email. You can email me at jennifer.grace.dixon@gmail.com. Or for those of you who know me, you can use my school email address as well. So first of all, we're going to go ahead and get started with the presentation. So I'm going to go over the objective, which basically was to create a 3D model of an outcrop, which I photographed out at my project area out at Kilbourne Hole in New Mexico. This is a Mars volcano that exploded many thousands of years ago and left a crater. So there's some excellent outcrops out there to make 3D models of. This particular outcrop is pyroclastic ash flow, and it has lapilli in it and all kinds of different flows and cross-bedding. The one that I photographed for this one was fairly simple, so you won't see much cross-bedding, but you'll get the idea. For the 3D mapping portion of the project, I used a program to create some kind of visualization to kind of emphasize some of the structures that you could see in the 3D model. And let's see, the software that I used for the photogrammetry, which is a software that you create a 3D model of with, is called 3DFLOW. And this is a fairly new software that I came across, which I used in substitution of PhotoScan, which is by Agisoft. That's usually what our school uses, but since I'm at home, this was a much better option for me because I could download it and use it for free. And some of the features that it offers is some an automatic structure from motion. So if you have a video of an outcrop, that makes it super easy. For this model, I used a whole bunch of pictures instead of the video, just because I didn't take a video of it, but I should have. And it creates a dense cloud, point cloud. It creates the mesh texturing on top of that. The mesh filters fill the holes and gaps that may be present if it didn't pick up anything. It would have been better if I put control points in the photos, but I didn't. It still came out pretty good. The good thing about this software, the 3DFLOW, is that they offer a 6-month free educational license, and you can renew it if you want. They only ask that you provide them with a report of what you did with the software at the end of the 6 months. And the structure from motion is really awesome. I was impressed by that. So some of the features in this is that the camera positions are automatically computed. So if you have a camera, like I used a Nikon SLR, and it pretty much just does everything for you. You don't have to do anything. If you have a fancy camera, it makes it quicker, but this made it really super easy for me. The dense point clouds is something that usually takes a while with other programs like PhotoScan. And since the computers at the university department were kind of taken, since it's the end of the semester, that's what kind of prompted me to look for an alternative, and this is a great alternative. There's some noise reduction tools. You can do all kinds of configurations. I kind of kept it simple for this one. We'll go over that in just a minute. And the meshes, they create a smooth texture over the point clouds, and it really helps in getting the 3D model to look its best. And what else? the structure for motion, I already went over that. And I went over the free educational license. Now as far as the 3D visualization or the 3D mapping over the 3D model, I chose two different programs. First I chose SKETCHUP, which I tried to use to kind of draw over, well, the plan was to draw over the 3D model and then pull out sort of like planes to show some of the cross bedding, to show the bedding orientations, just to kind of give it a more visually aesthetically pleasing visual of the model. It's available as a free version, and it's called SKETCHUP Make. The other one that I tried was called Line. VOG, I think it stands for Virtual Outcrop something. But it's a visualization and interpretation software. Really, it's just simple, easy, and it is great for figuring out strikes and dips and showing planes. I'm sure there's a lot more features on it that I didn't really get to play with, but I didn't see much else. The good thing about this one is that it was free to download, and it gives you a 108-day free trial. I will provide the link in the description, like I said before, if you all want to try that. Now the whole goal of this was to create a 3D model and then map some of the features on it, like for instance strike and dip of the bedding. That's exactly what I tried to do with this project. So let me go over the 3DFLOW, which is the photogrammetry software that I used. What I did for the workflow, and I'll give you some screenshots here. Okay, here's a screenshot of the opening scene when you open up the program after you download 3DFLOW. All you have to do is click New Project, and that's right over here. And it's going to open up this new project wizard, which is super cool because it takes you through each step that you need to do in order to create a quality 3D model. And for this project, I chose to go two options. I did a fast way, which created a really fast model in under about 15 minutes. And I used fewer photos as well, but as you can see down here, you're going to want to click these compute dense point cloud, compute surface after dense cloud, point cloud extraction, compute texture after surface extraction, and you also want to click online for pre-computed camera calibration. That comes in super handy because it'll look up whatever kind of camera you used and calibrate it on its own. So that comes in really handy. Let's see. The third step was to go ahead and start choosing all of your options for the camera orientation presets. I chose fast for this fast model. The dense point cloud creation, again I chose fast just for the purpose of this project. Also for the surface reconstruction, chose fast. For the textured mesh generation, I chose 50% resolution just to save time. You can go higher in the resolution, which makes a better, you can zoom in way more with higher resolution when you choose a higher percentage. After that, all you do is click run, and then it'll give you kind of like an estimated time of arrival, or ETA, which comes in super handy when you're on a time crunch. You can also look down at the log, which will show you exactly what it's doing at that moment. So you'll know if there's an error, you'll see it. If something's wrong, you'll see it. And all in all, this fast model took about maybe 10-15 minutes, and this was the product. And as you can see, it's a fairly good model considering it was quick. Now for the model that I created using a more high quality setting, I'll show you in the results. That took about maybe 2 hours to render, total processing time, and I chose an outcrop that was a little bigger, so I had a lot more pictures, but I'll get to that soon. And as far as the 3D mapping software, the Lime software, there's just some examples of what it can do. You can choose different types of filters and it'll detect some other things, whatever. I think there's strike and dip orientation, aspect ratio, surface, eye surface, I think is what it's called. There's a whole bunch of different little filters. For this one, I just used the strike and dip orientations. So with the Lime program, the pros were that it was super user-friendly, it was really fast to use, it created a really nice model of some visualizations on my model, and potentially, if I was able to geo-reference this model, it would be really cool and really quick to calculate the strike and dips. Let's say if you were given a 3D model, or if you're looking at some kind of 3D map, wherever you're looking, this would be a really good program to calculate that. But it's got to be geo-referenced, and I didn't have time to mess with that. I'm sure it's fairly simple given the overall user-friendliness of this program. The only cons to this is that there's not that many tools available for measurements. It's pretty much limited to, from what I could tell, creating planes and creating lines. And then the texture filters on there, those kind of bring out what you want to see, but again, that's going to take some more time to play with. Hopefully you guys will have more time to play with that than I did. Now here's the opening scene of the Lime program. All you have to do is click Create New Project. I think that's pretty intuitive. What I did was I imported my 3D model that I made in 3DFLOW. I exported it from 3DFLOW as an OBJ file extension, an object file, and imported it into Lime, and this is what it looks like. So make sure when you use your 3DFLOW that you to create a model that you export it as an object file, and that will help you a lot because any other file doesn't come up as nice as this. The third step is highlighting the dip, and this is what I did to do that. I went down to the model, I right-clicked on it and hit the display settings, and I chose the dip and dip direction. So what that did was it highlighted on the model in different colors so that you could easily see it, where they were higher, where they were lower, and you can even hit an animation button that will kind of roll over the whole model so that you can see it regular and then textured and regular and textured. It's pretty cool to see that. The fourth step I did was to add some lines and some planes to it, and this is where it would come in handy to measure the strikes and dips of bedding planes out in real world. All you do is hit create line and you create some lines, and you can mess with the colors and the thicknesses of them. For the panels that I added on there, you can kind of see down here in the yellow or mustard and lime green. This kind of cuts the model so that you can see how the bedding layers dip, and it'll even give you the dip directions and strike if you have your model geo-referenced. Now for the SKETCHUP, that was kind of a fail. It was just way too hard to use, and I could not get my model to import correctly. I'm sure there's a way, but after spending a whole 2 days on it, I said I'm just going to try something else, and that's when I found the Lime program. So the results of this, I created a 3D model using the photogrammetry in the 3DFLOW software, and And I'm going to show you the first attempt, which was the fast one. The pros on this was that it was very fast. It was 10 minutes to completion. It made a decent model. The bad thing was that it left a lot of gaps. It was low resolution and there was a lot of blurring and gapping in that. And this is kind of what it looked like, kind of close up. So you can see how it's kind of blurry. And what else? Let's go back to the quality model, which took about 2 hours to render. The good thing about this was that it was a really high resolution model. It was actually pretty fast compared to some of the other rendering programs. It didn't take hours and hours, it just took maybe 2 hours to process. The bad thing was that it did take longer than the fast one. Let's see. And it did crash actually a couple times on me, but I did get it to work. I had to mess with the settings a little bit. And this is the end product of that model. What else? Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the models. Oh, here's a bonus. I tried the structure for motion option on the 3DFLOW just to test it out, and I made a 3D model of my daughter's upper body. This took about 10 seconds to film. It was about a 10-second film, and it took about 5 minutes to actually make the model. So it was super quick. And let me show you the result of that. This is the 3D model of her, which is super creepy, but it was actually really fun to make, and now I know I can use this, especially when we're out filming out crops. It'll make it super easy. Let's do this is the 3D model I created using 3DFLOW. You can see that it's pretty high quality. So you can zoom in pretty far in there and you can see a lot of the detail. And you can see how the different ash layers are really easily with this. But to further emphasize that, I used line to kind of go into the details of how these bedding layers are oriented and how they are laying on top of each other. So you could put as many lines as you want in here. It's super easy to do. All you do is click measure, create line, and then hold down shift and put a bunch of lines in and it'll make a line. So that's how you do it. So overall, these were great options for me, especially because I'm kind of stuck at home right now. But if you're a graduate student or a teacher who wants to kind of try this out at home or on your school computer, these are great programs to try out. SKETCHUP has some potential, but I wouldn't be able to tell you if it worked or not. But if you have any questions or comments or anything else that you'd like to add, just let me know, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.